All right, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to church tonight. It's good to see you. We're glad you're here. And, I got one mama, but I got a whole bunch of women telling me I need to put a jacket on. And, man, if I put it, I'll be sweating, if I put a jacket on. That's kind of warm in here right now for me. I could take it down a little bit if I'll text Tom asking to bring the air down a little bit in here. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but they're calling for a possibility of winter weather this weekend. I don't know if you've heard this or not. Maybe you've seen that somewhere or you've come in contact with it. And Brother Alex he's my chat GPT man. He's on top of it. He sent me a long chat he had today going over weather balloons that are getting released and hurricane flyovers and let me just give you the cliff notes on that. By 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're going to have a better idea of what it's going to do. Okay. But anyways, there was a lot of information there that goes into this forecasting. So, and you know what? They're still going to miss it. Y'all know that? So tonight, I had another thought, but I thought tonight might be a way to open this service, get you laughing a little bit. Let's talk about what happens when Southerners hear there's snow in the forecast. Now, to our northern friends, and some of you are from the north, right? You think this is comical. It's not comical to us. It's serious. This is serious. These are things we have to do, okay? These are not suggestions. These are what we have to do when there's a possibility for inclement weather. And so number one on the list here is, and these are 10 here, cancel everything immediately. That's the first thing. I mean, even now, I'm surprised there may be, I haven't actually watched the news, so there may be scrolling across the bottom. WREL right now, we got closures for the weekend, just because of the possibility. It's enough to do it. Number two here, watch the weather like it's the Super Bowl. You'll say things like this. Did you see the 11-17 update? And you've done it. That's what's funny about it is you're a good Southerner because you've done it. You've texted your friend, you've called your friend, you've Marco Polo'd your family. And then of course that goes to the next one, text everyone that you've ever met. I got a text on Monday. I'm riding down the road early Monday morning, just enjoying life, no clue about anything that could possibly happen. I got a text. And it came in, have you heard about the snow coming up? Man, I had no idea. I said, I don't know anything about it. And at that time, could be a big one. I'm thinking, and I said, well, when's it going to happen? This weekend. I'm like, this is Monday. I mean, this is Monday, and it's North Carolina. You're believing a lie. You're believing a lie. I mean, that's the way this goes. So, all right, and then, of course, number 4, and I don't know, maybe this happens up north, well, other Yankee friends tell us, I don't know, but buy milk and bread like it's currency. You got to go get the milk and bread. You have to. I don't know why. I don't know how that got started. Anywhere across the South right now, if you want milk and bread, you better go tonight when you leave here, and you better go find what you need to find. And then the milk will be bad for you can drink it on Sunday, but you need to go find it right now and store it up. And then, number 5 here, or number 4, or let's see, where am I at? Number 5, sorry. Argue over inches. It's either a dusting or it's a blizzard. There's no in between. We got a dusting, we got a blizzard. What do you got? We're texting around the county. Man, over here in Rosewood, what you got over there in Pikeville? What you got down in Mount Olive? What you got in Seven Springs? What's at the church? And everybody's getting an update, and we're basically all have about the same thing. Now, I know it can fluctuate some, southern part, northern part. From Fremont to Mount Olive, it could be a little different, but overall, it's okay, and it's funny, because, I do it. I mean, preacher will send a picture from his house. I'll send, we've got a group text going. Chance will send a picture, and I'll send a picture, and we don't live that far apart from each other, really. I mean, we're as a bird flies, it's not that far. I mean, we're literally, But anyways, that's just what we got to do. Stand outside staring at the sky. You ever do that? Oh yeah, looking like snow, It's amazing what we can discern, you know. Yep, you know, snow's in the air, you know. Now, I will say, I'll go on record here. There is something, sometimes you can walk outside and there's a certain feel and smell like, all right, something's on the way, you know, it has a right feel to it. I don't know. Maybe I'm a Southerner to the core, and then run to Walmart in your pajama pants. You got to do that. I mean, that's every day. That has nothing to do with snow. That's just being a Southerner. In the South, you got to go to Walmart in your pajama pants. That has nothing to do with snow. But snow creates more of a hysteria for that. It's more acceptable in the snow. Salt the roads way too far in advance, you know. We'll salt them, and then the rain will hit it off for the actual snow. You know, we hit them, and then it rains between the time we salt it and it's supposed to snow. We're going to get a rainstorm on Thursday. We'll salt it early, washes it all off, and then the snow comes. And which, you know, I don't know. Assume, you know, and this is true in North Carolina, especially this part of the state. Assume that school was canceled with a good forecast. We are at the point, I know I got some FCA, you know, we're at the point where it just takes a good forecast anymore. You don't have to have anything. When I was a kid, you had to have something. I mean, you couldn't, you know, forecast was one thing. But they used to send us to school, and we would be looking out the window dreaming about the snow that could possibly be. And then you got to go home. Now, man, you just got to have a level 3 storm, whatever that is now. Or, you know, they make up these things, these severe storms, and that's enough to shut it down. And we know we don't want to do any of that. And then, of course, you got to charge every device. And by the way, get out the phone, the tablet, the flashlights, whatever you got, you know, all the necessities. Get them charged up, get them ready. And then there's always that person in your family. And say this, it never snows here. Now, I've heard this, and there's a lot of truth to this. East of 95, man, it's not good. We don't get snow east of 95. And I thought, that's the dumbest thing. I don't know if it's the pollution or the warm air from the ocean. I don't know what happens at 95, but something at 95. Joy was asking me yesterday, she saw some forecast or something about, I guess, if you're north of Interstate 40, that you might get, and she said, you know, my wife, you know, she's definitely not Magellan. So she said, are we north of 40? Like, yeah, honey, we're north of 40. You got to go through Mount Olive. We hit 40 to go to Myrtle Beach, going towards Wilmington. So we go south, and we go east, and we go south, you know. And, I mean, anyways. So she got excited. I'm like, we're not that far north of 40. I mean, it's not that far to Interstate 40 from where our house is. But she feels like that's going to put us in the right spot, the snow belt. And then pull out your one old coat. It smells like the last snow in 2008 here, you know. Get that one old coat out. Post pictures of the bare grass. You know, you ever seen somebody, you know, on Facebook, they take a picture. It's like this little bitty dusting, you know, and they take a picture like it looks like grass. I mean, there's probably a flake in there, but come back next week, take the same picture, look exactly the same. I mean, that little flake is not changing your picture all that much. And then, of course, we have to, you know, try to explain the snow to our northern friends and why we have to do the things we have to do here in the South. So I don't know what this weekend holds. We got weather balloons up. We got people flying, hurricane flyers. We're doing everything we can do to get to the bottom of it. But the truth is, nobody really knows. And I hope to see you Sunday. I don't know. It may sleet. It may ice. It may snow. It may rain really hard and be a really, really cold rain. I don't really know. But you just be safe and be prepared, okay? And do all the Southern things you're supposed to do to be a good Southerner. You make sure you do them between now and Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, whatever it's going to be. All right, look at the prayer list with me real fast. Let me go over some announcements. It is good to see you tonight. I'm glad you're here. We're thrilled that you've come out tonight to be with us. Sorry, Sam Davis is texting me up here, and I'm in the middle of working, Sam. You can't, you can't do that. And I thought maybe it was something important, but it's not. I thought maybe I needed to know something. Maybe like my nose is bleeding or something. I didn't know if something was happening up here that I needed to be aware of, but it's not. Hey, we're glad to have you back. We've missed you. We're glad you're here. Great to have you. We're glad that, I definitely want an encouraging deacon back in the service. Without you, man, the the encouragement's been at an all-time high, you know. But you're back, so we're glad you're here. Let me give you some announcements quickly. So we are planning. I know there's a lot of things going in the forecast, but if we're here Sunday and everything's normal, we're going to have a practice for the church choir and the orchestra this Sunday evening, immediately following the evening service. So please take note of that. So we're trying to get ready for revival. Our missionaries we're praying for this month, David and Annette Acock, and they're in Brazil. Others offering tonight will go to help, if you want to give, to go to help David Osborne and their church plant in Withville, Virginia. Doing a good job there. And so anything you put in the offering boxes or you give online will go to be a blessing to them and their church and what they're doing in Southwest Virginia. And then the marriage retreat, we've got, right here from January the 30th to February the 10th, there's just an opportunity for God to do a lot of great things in our church. And I hope have all of those events on your calendar. I think it's what a wonderful opportunity. We've started out with the marriage retreat, 30th and 31st at Myrtle Beach, at Vista Resort. Then we go right into Family Sunday, February the 1st. Josh Bear will be with us that day preaching. Of course, we'll have a combined Sunday school. 7th grade and up, we're going to all meet right in here. And then we'll have our 10:30 service that day. And then coming off of that, the next weekend, Saturday, we've got a lot going. We've got the men's prayer breakfast. Fellas, if you've not signed up, great breakfast. You need to get signed up, faithgoldsboro.com. Go ahead and get on there, click on the prayer breakfast, get signed up. You can do that right now while I'm talking to you. It costs us $5. And then the ladies have a Galentine's event, February the 7th at 11:30. The same day, right before revival starts, we've got the men's event. We've got the ladies event at 11:30. And then we've coming up, we got a shower table for Wes and Morgan Denham. That'll start on the 8th, 11th, and 15th. That shower table will be available. And then the revival will kick off February the 8th, 9th, and 10th. Justin Pratt will be here all day Sunday. And then Monday night, Tuesday night, 6:30, we'll have Brother Kenny Baldwin will be here preaching and bringing the word to us. And I keep telling you this. I'll say it to you again. Whatever you got, cancel it. Be here. Be a part of it. Bring somebody with you. I promise you, it'll be worth your effort to be a part of what God's going to do with the revival. We're in the midst of our prayer and fasting. Started last Sunday. I trust that's going well for you, that the Lord has given you the discipline as you try to let go of what's seen to grab a hold of what's unseen. And you try to get a hold of the Lord and really seek His face, what the pastor's been talking about. And just praying for revival, praying for yourself, praying for your family, praying for lost friends and neighbors and coworkers and family members, that God would bring a great revival and send a revival in a powerful way. And so we're looking forward to all of that. And then, let's see here. Oh, and I want to say one more thing there before we go. Two more things. The spring semester of growth groups will kick off the 18th of February. So after revival, the following Wednesday night, not the 11th, but the 18th, the following Wednesday night, we'll kick off our spring growth groups. There's a bunch of sign-ups out in the foyer. I encourage you to go by. We've got numerous groups, numerous opportunities to study the Word and to grow in the Lord. So you see them scrolling there. I encourage you to go out and look through those and get signed up for that. And then I want to say, Brother Hammond asked me to put a plug of thank you in, that all those who brought desserts, all those who brought drinks for the Hearts Apart. That was last night on base. And it went really well. He said you just couldn't say thank you enough for what you did to help make that possible. And it was a wonderful opportunity for our church to minister, be able to meet some folks on base, and just to see the Lord do a work and use our church. So thank you if you helped, whether either serve or if you helped bring things for it. It was a blessing, and what an opportunity we had for that. Let me go over some prayer requests, and I want to do something tonight at the end. So I'm going to cut my sermon a little short. Now, I don't say that much, okay? So I'm going to cut my sermon a little short. I just feel led. I want to give you an update on Caleb Raper. This is Pastor Powell's nephew. We've been mentioning Caleb for many weeks now. He's been having serious complications. Today he was taken into emergency surgery. He made it through the surgery. They were having issues with the pumps that they had put in his heart. Um, Basically, his other vital organs were beginning to not function like they needed to, and they believe it was related to those pumps, that the heart wasn't doing what it needed to do to be able to make everything else go. And I'm not a doctor, so that's about as good as I'm going to do with that explanation. But he has just got a text here. He has made it through the surgery. He's on an ECMO machine for now. It's going to be that way until we can get a heart. And so we're just asking, and tonight we're going to close. I'm going to ask you to gather together around the altar if you can and will. And let's just pray for this situation. Pray for Caleb. It is very serious. It's very critical. Time is of the essence right now, just to be able to get a heart that will fit, that will match, and make this work. They're doing all they can at Duke to continue to give time to be able to get that, to make that a possibility. Okay, so I'm stressing to you, please pray, please pray, please pray, please pray for Caleb. And then the other need, Tyler Robinson, mentioned this last week, and just want to give a quick update. There has been some good positive signs. They're dropping the vents, or the oxygen levels are being dropped some, so he's breathing more on his own, able to get up a little bit, obviously with help, but just some movement in the right direction. They're not sure how long and all of that. And so I'm just asking you to keep praying for Tyler. Tyler's 27 years old. Basically has no use below his neck. He and his wife just married a few weeks when this happened. His wife's name is Elizabeth. We're praying for her too. She's 24, just a young couple, and could really use our prayers. And so I'm asking you to continue to pray for these. There's some other prayer requests on the list that you need to know about. Just some updates. Helen Looney there in Virginia, battling pneumonia, heart-related needs, not responding to meds. So we need to pray for this situation. Very serious. Donald Daltrey, you see down on the list there, heart-related needs, is scheduled for a heart catheterization tomorrow at Wayne. So we need to be praying for Donald. If you'll highlight his name, make sure you're calling his name out to the Lord. I know that would mean a lot to his family, and we're going to keep praying. And then Percy Wallace, Brother Percy, is going to be going in for back surgery February the 6th at ECU Health. And so you be praying for Brother Percy, that Lord would just be with that situation. And then Chris Taylor recovering. This is Brother Craig Taylor's dad, recovering from the kidney procedure earlier this week. So we're going to keep praying for him. And you see the names there on the list, those that battling cancer with physical needs, etc. So let's be praying for these needs. I just really feel like we need to zero in on Caleb tonight. At the end of the service, we'll do that. But right now, I'm just going to ask us to go to the Lord in prayer. Let's get our heart. Brother John. Did you say his name, Brother John? Will. Okay, this is Brother John's cousin's nephew, correct? Customer's nephew, okay. And 7 years old with asthma and got COVID and flu. Is that what you said, Brother John? Just having a hard time breathing. So let's be praying for that need. Let's go to the Lord in prayer tonight, and let's ask God to help us to receive the word tonight, to speak to our hearts, to challenge us from the word. Brother Brian McNeese, would you stand right there and just pray and ask God to help us be ready tonight to receive the word? Amen. Won't you stand up right quick, go fellowship with somebody you hadn't talked to for a minute, and then we'll come back and get in the Word together. All right, John chapter 11, if you got your Bible. John chapter number 11. I will say while you're going there, a few of you have mentioned, and I just want to touch this again because I think it's so important. A few of you have mentioned to me that you've enjoyed the book reference a couple of weeks ago. I told you probably I hate to rank them, but outside of the Bible, maybe the best book I've ever read in my life. It's not very long. It's very short. You can read it. Some of you who read well can read it very quickly. But some of you have come to me and said, hey, Chris, I got that book, and man, it's really just been in fact, I had two or three just today, say, wow, I got that book, and man, it's really meant a lot to me, really helped me. And I'll just mention it to you again. I'm going to throw it out there one more time. If you've not gotten it, you need to get it. The Prisoner in the Third Cell by Gene Edwards. I assure you, you will not be disappointed for reading that book. I would cover that book in some type of growth group setting. I just don't know how. It's got discussion questions. It would be interesting. I don't know that I could do it justice. And that's the truth of what it says. And so I've thought about it several times, but I've just decided, you know what? That might need to be a personal read and a personal journey for you. And if you want to go to that journey and need that, I would highly encourage you to look into it. So John chapter 11, we're going to pick up at verse 17. We're talking, we went over the problematic assertion that Lazarus is sick. We got a problem, and he's sick. The one you love is not doing well, Lord. You need to respond. And Jesus tarries, right? We're going to get into the 4 days late in just a minute and kind of give us a little bit of context, I hope, to get you to see why that was important and why that was necessary. And out of that problematic assertion becomes last week we spent the whole time talking about the pessimism that the disciples displayed, that, Lord, we can't go back there. I mean, they want to kill you. They'll want to kill us. And then we finished up with, Thomas kind of being this fatalistic, loyal, pessimistic, Lord, if you're going to go and die, we're going to die with you. You're not going to go alone and die. And that was verse number 16. We saw the commitment of Thomas and his desire for Jesus to not be all by himself. And so in this passage tonight, and we're talking tonight, point number 3, the third assertion is it's a personal assertion there in your notes. As we pick up at this point, Jesus finally makes it to Bethany. He tarried 2 days. He journeyed a day. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. And he's going to use these interactions, these conversations, this first interaction with Martha tonight, to make a personal assertion about himself. And the truth is, church, the trials and pains of this life give God opportunities to show us more clearly who Jesus is. And I think as we journey through these next, 10 verses, maybe we get to point 4, maybe we'll see. If we journey through these next 10 verses, I think what we're going to see is Martha knew quite a bit, but she didn't know everything she should have known, and maybe there was a reason why she didn't know it. But Martha's going to get to hear, in my opinion, one of the greatest personal assertions in all the Gospels. Martha's going to get spoken to her. Now, remember, this is for us, not to us. Martha, Jesus actually spoke to Martha. John records it for us, and we praise God for that. The Holy Spirit gives us that ability to read and to see those insights and to learn. But Jesus tells her this great personal assertion. We're going to look at it tonight. But I want you to see this in your notes. Write this down before we get into the first subpoint here. Oh, sorry. Before Jesus raises Lazarus publicly, he reveals himself personally. And oftentimes before there's that great public event, there's this space in between that of, God, we have a problem, and God answers that problem however he sees fit. There's that space where God's wanting to do something. And what we long for is, God, fix whatever I'm dealing with, change whatever I'm dealing with. And what God is actually wanting to do is to show me something, to help me, to help you, to help us learn something more about him. And there's before we get to the wow moment of John chapter 11, and we're going to get there, but there's got to be this process that's going to unfold before we get to that point. And so look at verse number 17 in your Bible, will you? John chapter 11. Let's see what happens before we get to the public miracle, what happens personally here. John 11:17. Then when Jesus came, he found that he had lain in the grave 4 days already. Now, I don't want to spend a ton of time here, but I think it's important that we understand what's happening in this culture. So the 4 days is important. It's significant. So what we have is Lazarus, he's been sick, he dies, he's been dead for 4 days. In that culture, the Jews believed, rabbinic tradition recorded, that there was a common idea that the soul actually hovered. That when a person died in that day, and this was recorded sometime after this event, but most historians and scholars would say that it certainly was present then, just not written down yet, that there was a hovering of the soul that stayed near the body for about 3 days. Now you see where we're going here. So this hovering, it was like the idea that it was hoping to re-enter it, that there was a possibility maybe that, the body could receive it. And on the 4th day, when physical decay became unmistakable, right, the soul then permanently departs. It goes away. And we see this writing, in different Jewish writings, but direct quotation, the soul hovers over the body for 3 days, but when it sees the face has changed, the soul leaves. And this makes better sense because when you go to the other gospel accounts, this is not the first time Jesus raised somebody from the dead. I mean, he's done this before, right? He's spoken into this before, but this is the first time he's done it for somebody who's been dead this long, who's gone beyond the hovering moments, who's gone beyond the hovering period, the period where there's possibly some type of hope, where somebody could say, well, did he really do it? Or was it that the soul re-entered and it just coincidentally lined up perfectly? You can see the naysayers beginning to say things like that. So this 4-day period, this 3-day period is important. And so what we're saying when we come to this point here, that he's been in the grave 4 days already, what we're saying is the hovering of the soul is over. Lazarus is not in a coma, okay? There's nothing that they can do naturally or spiritually to help Lazarus. I mean, he's graveyard dead. Y'all with me? Stone's been rolled over. He's starting to smell bad, right? I mean, the toes are cold, okay, on Lazarus. It's over. And so when Jesus shows up, everybody had written hope off, right? Even Martha, even Mary, even those that, really loved Jesus and knew Jesus, they had already said, this is done. The soul hovering's over. We're beyond that point. But look at verse number 18. Look at it, what it says. Now Bethany was nigh unto Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs, about 2 miles, okay? About 2 miles away, Jerusalem and Bethany, this nearby location, 15 furlongs off, and many of the Jews, now notice this now, many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Now, again, I don't want to spend a ton of time, but I want to be clear. In the Gospel of John in particular, when you see capital letter Jews, that's not your ordinary common Jew. That's John. For John, that's not an ethnic term, it's a technical term. Right? Now, yes, they were Jewish, of course, but it's telling us that these individuals were either like on the Sanhedrin, they were a part of the Sanhedrin, they were Pharisees, they were Sadducees, they were lawyers, they were doctors, they were scribes, or they were the official representation of such people. Now, when I read that passage, I begin to scratch my head and think, what were they doing there? I don't think it was the Sanhedrin that showed up, the 70, but it may have been the clerks of the Sanhedrin. It may have been those that were disciples of those that were on the Sanhedrin, right? It could have been Nicodemus' disciples that showed up, those that were students and followers, those that were rabbis but yet not master teachers. And they came out to be with, look at what it says, to comfort Martha and Mary concerning their brother. Now, who were these men? They were men of status, men of learning. They were not some random neighbors. They had journeyed a couple of miles. They were recognized representatives, so much so that John makes sure to tell us that they were there. Capital J. Now remember, go back to last week. Why did the disciples not want to go to Bethany? Because the Jews want to kill you. So guess what? Their pessimism, they had some reasons to feel that way, because guess what? When they showed up, guess who they saw? The Jews. Those that were a part of the official regalia of Judaism of that day. Those that were the ones in John 10 who said, we got to take a hold of this man. And all of a sudden, this man he leaves the wilderness, makes a 20-mile journey back to Bethany, and he finds himself back in the hot seat. And no doubt Peter, James, and John are saying, we tried to tell him. Why wasn't he listening? Right? We shouldn't have been here. Look who's here. Now, why were they there? A lot of speculation. We believe maybe Lazarus was possibly a prominent family. His burial indicates that maybe he had some wealth. He had a tomb that was rolled over by a stone, right? He had a Joseph of Arimathea, kind of a garden tomb situation, because when they're going to go to him, they're going to say, take the stone away. Right? So that indicates that maybe this man had some type of stature, some type of wealth. And so because of that, these individuals, these men of prominence, showed up to mourn. By the way, it was mourning customs required their involvement. They came out as a sign of duty and honor. And you know what's interesting? God uses all of that to put at the graveside of Lazarus witnesses, doesn't he? People of credibility, legal credibility, to be by the graveside. Not some random person, in the middle of nowhere saying, oh, I saw it. But people of establishment, people of means, people that when they went back to Jerusalem, they'd say, we're going to have to do something about this Jesus, because he has done it now. He had a guy 4 days dead. The soul hovering is over. 4 days. And he done told him to walk out of the grave. And you know what we saw? That man came walking out of the grave. Lazarus is not dead anymore. So there's this personal assertion. So with all that understanding, right? 4 days late, the Jews are present. What do we know? Letter A, write this down. Here we go. You ready? Oh goodness, this thing is late on the draw every time, and I get impatient because I'm an impatient person. Letter A, Martha's knowledge. Now, I told you just a minute ago, Martha knew a lot. We're going to look at what she knew. But the question is, what did Martha know and believe about Jesus at this point? right? At this point, what did she know? Martha had strong faith. She had been in the presence of Jesus. She had been around Jesus. We're going to look at Luke 10 in a minute. Martha was a server. Man, Martha was not lazy. Martha was active. Martha, she and Mary sent for Jesus. They had enough faith to know that Jesus, if he were here, could change things, right? They believed that, right? Martha had a strong faith. But I'm going to tell you this, she struggled to believe that Jesus could change the present. She knew he could change the past, and she knew he could change the future. But she struggled with this moment. Right now, this current situation. Look at verse 20. What does the Bible say? Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming. I mean, he ain't even knocked on the door yet. This is her personality. And some of y'all got a Martha personality, right? As soon as you hear it, buddy, she's gone. She's running to him. You know, she can't sit still. My wife is all the time saying, Chris, you can't sit still, you can't, etc. And I'm said, sorry, honey, I'm too busy. I can't listen to you right now. I got something to do, And so, all the time, Martha's on the run. She went and met him. Look at verse 20. But notice the difference, the juxtaposition here between Martha and Mary, right? Martha's running to see Jesus. What's she doing? She's just sitting still in the house. And we see that same thing in Luke 10, don't we? The sitting and the serving and the running. So Martha, Martha takes off. And then said Martha unto Jesus, notice it now, Lord. So great respect, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. Man, we're talking about strong faith. She runs to Jesus. Lord, if you'd just shown up, you're just a little too late. You should have gotten here, 4 days ago, Lord, or maybe 3 days ago, but it's beyond the point of no return. You're just a little too late, and Lord, had you been here, I know you could have changed this thing. I know you could have fixed it. Now look, I don't believe she's accusing him. I personally believe she's confessing confidence mixed with grief. I'm sure she's hurting. Oh, Lord, I wish you would have come. And Lord, I know if you'd have come, you would have changed the situation. But I just hate you didn't get here in time, Lord. I hate you were late. Write this down. The first thing that Martha said revealed what she knew. What did she know? Jesus could have changed the situation. Hey, I wonder, as you're writing that down, do you know that? We got to start with that. Do we really believe that Jesus changes things? Do we really believe in our heart of hearts that we as his children, having his presence in my life makes a difference? Do we have that type of confidence? Now again, I'm not talking about health and wealth and telling God what to do. That I wouldn't tell you to read The Prison of the Third Cell if I believe that. Okay, that's not what that book's about. I promise you, it's the exact opposite of that. Okay, so I'm not going down that road. I'm just asking you, do you have the faith that if Jesus shows up, things change? Right? We got to start there. You can't finish there. But Martha, man, she had that much. However, what did she not know? He didn't have to be present. John chapter 4, 20 miles from Cana to Capernaum. What did Jesus do? The nobleman finds Jesus. Here's a guy searching Jesus out. Jesus said, look, man, go home. Your son's fine. What do you mean? You're not going with me? No, you're good. Go. He's fine. An old boy makes a 20-mile journey back, probably thinking all the way back, I hope this guy knows what he's talking about. And when he gets back, the servants meet him in the road. Remember this in John 4? Meet him in the road, and they say, Lord, you're not going to believe it. Your son's better. What time did he get better? Well, it was so-and-so. And John says it was that time the nobleman knew what had happened. At the very moment Jesus said, your son's fine, he was fine. He don't got to be present, right? We've seen the centurion servant, right? He said, Lord, don't you dare come in my house. Just say the word, and you can change things. But Martha's faith, it was strong, but yet it lacked something. Lord, if you would have been here, he didn't have to be there. right? We don't have to put God in our box. All of us have a box. All of us want to put God into it and tell God what he can and can't do. God, if you would have done this would have worked out better. God, if you could just only do that, my life would be better. We act like sometimes we know better than God. And it was almost like Martha in her grief. Yes, she wasn't mad, but there was this part of her like, Lord, I wish it had just come sooner. You really missed the opportunity that me and Mary were just convinced you were going to show up. And Lord, had you just been here? Look at verse 22. Look at this now. And I'm not a highlighter in my Bible. Some of you are, and if you are, you might want to highlight this right here. Notice verse 22. But I know. But I know. Now we're talking about her knowledge. What does she know? Look at what she says. That even now, listen to this. That even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, thou wilt ask of God, God will give it to thee. Now I got to say, I got to give some credit to my friend John Butler, okay, on this one right here. And I did some digging on it, and he's right. Those words in the text there, whatsoever thou wilt ask is the verb. And that Greek verb, Jesus never used that verb to talk about when he talked to his Father. Because that verb is actually an inferior, it denotes an inferior talking to a superior. Now that verb is throughout the New Testament, okay? Right, that verb is found many times, and I'm going to give you a couple spots, and if you want to look them up later, you can. But Matthew chapter 6 and verse 8, we see that same verb, and listen to the text. What does it say in Matthew 6 verse 8? That same verb for ask is used. Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what, capital F, Father, knoweth what things ye have need of, ready, before ye ask him. So that verb is used in a scenario where an inferior is talking to a superior. Which, by the way, that's me and you in prayer. We're inferiors talking to a superior one. That's God, but that's not Jesus in prayer. Now, we've covered this clearly 26 sermons ago, right? But I want to say it again. Jesus Christ is not inferior to God the Father. Hear me. He does not talk to him the way we do. That's what she's telling him to do. Had you just asked like a child asked their daddy, Lord, God, Jesus, this would have changed. Notice what, I'm going to give you another verse. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 9. That same word ask is used. It's used here in John 11:22. Or what man is there of you whom if his son asks bread, will he give him a stone? So Martha's knowledge was strong, but it wasn't strong enough. She didn't really grasp who Jesus fully was, right? She had a pretty good knowledge. Man, she was convinced, Lord, if you'd just been here, man, hey, you'd have changed things. And she goes on to say, but if you just ask him right now as an inferior to a superior, man, he'd listen to you. You'd get the Father's attention because he sees you as a child. And the reality is that Jesus Christ is not in any way inferior to God. And she uses a verb that puts him in that situation. And maybe that's why he makes the personal assertion that he's getting ready to make to her, to make it abundantly clear. I don't have to ask. He and I, we work hitherto, right? We work together. We work in equality. What I do, he would do. And what he would do, I would do. We don't have any need to ask, right? We are perfect in every way. And here she is. And look, Martha had great love and respect for Jesus, but she failed to see Jesus as fully equal with God in every way. In every way. She knew that he could ask and that God would answer. She didn't know that he was in no way inferior to the Father, and she didn't know that Jesus didn't need to ask. In fact, why didn't she know that? Go back to Luke 10 in your Bible, will you, quickly? Luke chapter 10. Stay with me now. Some of you you're losing me here. Stay with me. Luke chapter 10, verse number 38. We see this picture of Mary and Martha. And maybe the reason she wasn't keenly aware of everything she should have been because she was too busy. Look at what it says in Luke chapter 10, verse number 38. Now it came to pass as they went that they entered into a certain village. And a certain woman named Martha received him, Jesus, into her house. And she had a sister called Mary. Here we are, Mary and Martha. Which also sat, notice it now, sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. By the way, nothing gets any better than that. That's the top. You hear me? That's the top. Well, you don't know what all I've done. Don't need to know what you've done. What do you know about him? Have you sat at his feet and listened? Martha, the Bible says, but Martha was cumbered about. That word there is distracted. Y'all ever been so busy? You've been too busy you can't hear from God? You know why this is? I don't even like preaching this, because you know why? Because it's so much of me. I have a Martha personality. I have to work really hard to do what Mary does. Really hard. Because my wife is right. Unfortunately, she knows me very well, and it's right. I have a hard time sitting still. I have a hard time. You know, I want to be doing something. I want to be involved somehow. I like to be doing. But she was distracted about much serving and came to him. Notice it now. She was so busy, and Mary was so unbusy in her mind. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, dost thou not care that my sister hath left me to serve alone? Lord, you ought to tell her to get up. Get doing something. You know, get your hands busy on something. What are you doing sitting around? Why are you being so lazy? Bid her, therefore. Notice it in the text. Bid her, therefore. Tell her that she must help me. And I love Jesus' answer. Verse 41. He said, Martha, Martha, you are careful. You are anxious. That's the word careful. You are anxious and troubled. You are disturbed about many things. The truth is, that's a lot of our life verses, unfortunately. We are anxious and disturbed about many things. And then when somebody's not as anxious and disturbed as we are, we get mad about it. And we want to tell God, why ain't they upset? Why ain't they having the same trouble? Why are they not upset like I am? God, mess up their life, give them something to worry about. The reality is, they got the same stuff to worry about, but they're choosing not to worry the same way you are. And maybe the reason we get over to John chapter 11, about 4, 5, 6 weeks from the cross, and Martha's still a little unclear about the person of Jesus, maybe because she was so busy that she missed out on what she should have been listening to. And maybe, just maybe because she wasn't sitting at his feet, she was busy running around, that she didn't know everything that she should have known at that point. Now again, I'm getting you to think here. And he tells her, he says, verse 42, but one thing is needful, and Mary has chosen that good part. I'll say this to you, and we're going to run out of time pretty quickly here tonight. I'm going to say this to you. Everything in this world, look at me, everything in this world works against the good part. Everything. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. The ever-present rectangle. Let me grab it. The ever-present rectangle. This is enemy number one to the good part. Right? Exhibit A in the trial of what's messing up our faith. We're too busy. We're too busy reading about things that don't matter. I find myself, and look, I'm old, whatever. FoxNews.com, right? I find myself reading about Greenland and whatever's going on and this and that. And at some point, I told myself, Chris, what does it matter? Whatever. If we own Greenland next year, okay, great. If we don't, whatever. I don't even know. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, good for you. I'm happy for you. You're better off to not know what I'm talking about. I don't want you to be ignorant. Okay, don't be ignorant. But some of us are just too, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, they have made a fortune throwing stuff in our face continually. TikTok, a fortune, keeping you doom scrolling. Do you realize as long as your thumb can move, they got something for you? All that takes is that right there. We got another vertical coming your way. Just keep going. They got something for you. And before we know it, and look, I'm just hitting on one thing, but we could talk about a myriad of things that works against the good part. We live in a Martha society. We really do. So busy, so busy, so busy. We're so hurried. We're so rushed. And what do we miss? We miss this. We don't do that, do we? And when we try to do that, we are so clouded in our spirit. We can't get quiet. We struggle with this. And Jesus says to her, verse number 23, look at it really quickly. Let me give about 4 minutes here. We're going to stop. He said unto her, thy brother shall rise again. So she said, Lord, you'd have been here. You could go back to chapter 11, verse 23. Lord, if you'd have been here, it would have worked out. It would have worked out great. I know that if you ask God and he says, hey, Martha, quit talking, your brother's going to be fine. And look at what she says back. Again, another one of those I knows. Ready? Verse 24. Martha said unto him, there it is, I know. I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Martha knew that Lazarus would resurrect the last day and they would be together again. However, she failed to see it being right now. Again, she had the faith for, Lord, if you'd have been here. She had the faith for the last day you are going to raise him up. She just didn't have the faith for right this moment. Even when he tells her, your brother is going to rise again. Oh, Lord, I know that. Yeah, I got that. That's down the road. Check. No, you're not listening, Martha. Right now, we're getting ready to walk to the graveside, and we're getting ready to open that tomb up, and I'm going to call him out. Now, she would have never, and again, soul hovering's gone. She would have never believed such a thing. We're going to do what? We're going to go where? And he's going to walk out, and you're going to say, loose him and let him go? I love what John Butler says in his commentary. He says, Martha had faith for the past and faith for the future, but she didn't have much faith for the present. And I'm afraid that too many of us live here, don't we? It's what God did for us. It's what God will do for us. It's not what is God doing for us now. What can he do today? And we relegate him to, he saved me when I was 9. One day he'll take me to heaven when I die, but yet he can't help me much in this particular moment. It doesn't even sound right, does it? If he saved me from my sins and moved from death into life as a 9-year-old, and he's building a place, a home for me in heaven, a place for me to be with him forever, then why couldn't he provide what I need today? And he may choose not to, but it's not because he doesn't have the ability. It's because he knows what's best for you better than you do. And Martha says, Lord, if, Lord, I know. And I'll say tonight, wrapping this up on your outline, trouble, sorrow, sadness, and pain. All of that. The things that we don't want. Hey, sign me up, preacher. Trouble, sorrow, sadness, and pain. Love that. You know, give me that. Give me all 4 of them. We don't want that, truthfully. Nobody wants it. We try really hard to avoid it. I do, you do, we all do. But I'm looking at people in this room and the guy on this stage, we've all had it. Trouble, sorrow, sadness, pain. But they have a way of helping us. Did you hear that? Helping us. They're actually working on our behalf. God is using them. We don't like this, but this is what God's going to do. Helping us as his followers to do what? To gain a greater knowledge of who he is. That's what this is all about. And then what he can do. And as we bring this to a close tonight, I ask you, what do you know about Jesus? What do you know? Because Martha knew some things, but she didn't know everything. And the reality is I'm looking at people and you're listening to a guy talk to you who knows some things but don't know everything. That's why we're in a Christian walk, right? Nobody in here has got it figured out. Nobody has arrived. Nobody can say, hey, I'm the greatest Christian ever. And even the Apostle Paul himself, what did he say? That I may know him. Not that I have known him and I'm good, that I may know him in the power of his resurrection. Don't stop. And the fellowship of his sufferings. being made what? Conformable unto his death, Philippians 3:10. So I ask you, what do you know about Jesus? And I say to you, what is the trouble, sorrow, sadness, and pain teaching you about Jesus? And I'm going to say this to you, and we're going to close in prayer. You have got to get yourself, your heart, in a posture that all the years, and I'm looking at some folks have been dealing with pain for decades. God has a purpose for all of that. And it's to bring me to a greater place with him, that I might know him, and I might know him differently than what I did before. And the quicker I get off the bitterness train, and the complaining train, and the whining train, and the pessimism train, and the faster I get on God, what do you want to teach me train, the better off it's going to be for you and me and for this local church. Now, here's what I want to do to close. We've got about 3 minutes. I'm going to ask you, if you can and if you will, would you join me at the altar tonight? I want to have special prayer for Caleb. I want to ask God, just come on if you can and you will. Just come on right now, either on the front pews, right here, somewhere along these steps. I want us to call his name out. I want us to ask God to work in his situation, to touch this young man's body, to be able to find a viable heart. We are in a dire spot, a critical spot for Caleb. I know our pastor is concerned. And I want to rally the best we can behind him and do what we can. There's some things we cannot do, church. But there's some things we can do, and we can take him to the Lord. Because we know the one who's in charge. I'm going to pray, and I'm going to ask you as I'm praying, would you pray with me and just ask God to intervene in this situation? Father, tonight I do not pretend for a second to know why things happen. I don't pretend to have any knowledge or to tell you tonight why things should happen or what you should change or what you should do. I don't come to you on those grounds. I'm not equal with you. But I just come to you as your child tonight. And I come to you with a family that's hurting, a young man that's fighting for his life tonight. Lord, please touch his body. Please help the ECMO machine and all that they're doing, that they have done even today to try to prolong and to give him more time and to keep him viable. I just pray that, God, it's working. God, would you come down into that young man's body? And Lord, obviously we're praying for a heart. I know that means there's a family that's hurting on the other end. And of course, God, we ask you to minister grace to them. But we sure are praying really hard that we would find a heart that could match Caleb and that they believe could be a transplant and could save his life. There's a lot of things we can't control. There's a lot of things that doctors can't control in this situation. And truly, Lord, we're asking you as your children, please work in this young man's life. And we think about his mom, his dad, his brother. We think about our pastor, his uncle, Miss Aaron, his aunt. We think about Andrew and Elisha, his cousins. And Lord, our hearts are just heavy. Please give them grace today. I know they're all scared. I know Caleb's scared, Lord. Would you whisper grace in their fear? Lord, help us as a church to do what we can to encourage, love on that family. Please, God, minister to them right now. Go where we cannot go. The very recesses of their hearts. And God, I promise you, we'll give you the glory and the praise. I beg you one more time, Lord, please, very soon, would you open up a viable option for a heart transplant? Would you help this young man and save Caleb's life? Give that team of doctors and surgeons and nurses and all of those at Duke Hospital who are doing their best, God,
Give them great wisdom. Give them the insight they need to do the right thing at the right moment for Caleb and for his family. We trust you with that, Lord. Again, we ask you just as children. We don't get to tell you what to do, but we simply ask you, please. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you all for being here. Keep praying. Keep praying for all the folks on the list. We'll see you back here. We don't know what's going to happen on the weather, but Lord,